Just before this video gets started, I just wanted to say a couple of things. First off, I also found it extremely difficult to make this list, mainly because, to me personally, it's very rare whenever LEGO makes a remake of a set that is particularly worse than the previous version, because most of the time LEGO, most of the time they just improve over the first one by just making it so much better. Bulkier, and things like that. And these sets, I feel like, just couldn't accomplish that, or they were just too small, or too big, or were just overall really disgusting sets in my opinion. So without further ado, let's take a look at what are, in my personal opinion, top 5 worst LEGO Star Wars remakes of all time. So for my number 5 choice, I've chosen the Republic Frigate. I thought it was an unnecessary remake of the 2007 Republic Cruiser. I just didn't really like the fact that they just made a Clone Wars version of it. The minifigures, they were okay though, but because they're Clone Wars minifigures, almost all of them got remade basically. I'm still waiting for them to do a remake of Eth Koth, because that Eth Koth is very outdated and very ugly, honestly. I kind of wish they went back with the red color scheme, because honestly, I just thought that remaking the original was just very pointless, unless you wanted to add spring-loaded shooters, but it was 2011, so you couldn't really do that. Next up on the list, I've chosen the 2018 Mos Eisley Cantina. This set was a Toys R Us exclusive, and it did come with some new, some cool minifigures. Han Solo, Greedo, I can't remember what his name is, the barman, and a sand trooper. But considering the previous one came out and was like, I don't know, $60, $70, $90, it really just felt like that this one was missing out on a lot of opportunities. It just had less minifigures, it was smaller. Sure, you get new stuff like a new, like the barman and that one white thing that you see on the outside, but considering that the previous version just had like so much more to it, like a sand, like a land speeder, a raftar, and well, I don't know if it was a raftar, but just like a bunch of cool stuff like that. This one just failed to that. You could say that this one actually isn't a remake of that. It's actually a remake of the 2003 one. Well, guess what? The 2003 one did have a sand speeder, a land speeder, and the raftar or whatever, and this one couldn't do that. I'm honestly surprised that they haven't gone out of their way to make a UCS Cantina, considering that this is a scene that appeals to adults more and not really kids, and I just didn't really understand why they had to go out of their way to make another small cantina base thing. It's also kind of overpriced too. I think people can agree with me. 376 pieces for $40 isn't terrible, but the size just feels way too small. It's not a bad set. It's not a terrible set. It's just kind of bad. Sorry there. I just kind of stuttered. But without further ado, let's go on to number 3. Next up on the list, I've chosen Yoda's Hut from 2018. I just feel like the previous version just had a much better HUD design, even though it was chopped in half. It just felt like it had a bigger interior than the newer one, plus it had the X-Wing. I can understand why they got rid of the X-Wing, but still, it did come with 3 good minifigures, but I just feel like the build was really lacking. It's, just like the previous one, this one's overpriced too. Like, I didn't know this until now, but I actually had to pay like 32 freaking bucks for only 229 pieces. That's a steal, and I was just so disappointed. I just felt so ripped off from the set. I can't believe that anyone that would actually think that this is $32. Like, why not sell it for $25? I don't know, probably because Lego's greedy and they don't do $25 sets anymore. But guess what? If you don't do $25 sets anymore, you might as well go for a size that's bigger than something that should be $25. You greedy pile of crap. Next up on the list, I'm going to choose a set that's actually extremely disappointing in my opinion. I kind of wish they waited a bit longer to make this set, but Obviously Lego is too impatient, and it's the General Grievous wheel bike from 2014. I mean, yeah, I can understand why they would remake it. I mean, the old one, I would admit, is a bit outdated to this day, but the Grievous wheel bike from back then was actually able to spin pretty easy, and this one also had Obi-Wan's pet. But the reason why this one is on the list is not because of the minifigures. The minifigures are pretty awesome, but the fact that it lacks of Obi-Wan's pet missing from the set, and the fact that it has flip fire missiles, which this is 2014. Come on, Lego. You should have spring-loaded shooters at this point. And another problem I have with the set is probably my biggest issue. It's the fact that the set it just never felt sturdy. It always felt like it was going to fall apart. And I always remember back in the old times, I was always nervous holding on to the set because I was worried that that the blasters were going to fall off, which they always did. And I don't know, I just felt like this one was just really lacking. It didn't feel sturdy, and the minifigures were good, but I just feel like the set could include so much more. It was lacking Obi-Wan's pet. I guess some of the people that Grievous with, and the fact that I just thought they could make it so much better, but they didn't, obviously. Next up on the list is my number one choice, and for my number one choice, I have just had to go with the Sandcrawler. I just think that this set is just absolutely garbage and terrible. This set is just plain trash. You know, you look at that UCS Sandcrawler from 2015, and you know, it's just so perfect in every way. It was just so much better design, and this new one I feel like is just absolute trash. I guess in design it's pretty good. However, when you plan to release something that's as good as the UCS Sandcrawler, it's very hard for me to look at that inaccurate, small, and crappy design of the 2018 Sandcrawler and say, hey, that's a pretty good set, because it's just not. This one, the UCS one just had tons of features. However, with this one, it just has an ugly, way too small an interior. I mean, just looking at the size of this thing, you could tell how inaccurate it is to the movie. Like, freaking, when you look at the movie, basically the thing goes from one side of a school to the other, I guess, something like that. But however, with this one, I feel like it's the size of a house. And this one just lacks of minifigures as well. You know, they could have gone with something so much better, like Luke's home with Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. Or in the older one, this set honestly didn't need to get remade. Honestly, I just thought that the old one was just perfect and didn't need an updated design. But obviously they didn't really care. This one just has wheels, like little rubber wheels on the bottom, which makes it even worse to me, because Sandcrawler doesn't use car wheels, and I don't know, I just don't know what to think. I just think that this is just so bad. I can't believe that they even... Anyway, that's my list on the top 5 worst Lego Star Wars remakes. Did you agree? Did you disagree? Did I miss a set that was on this list? Let me know in the comment section down below, and tell me, what's the worst Lego remake in your opinion? I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.